I think let's get started. First of all, thank you very much for having me again at your event. Very pleased to see that the cannabis conference circuit is starting to get activated again, and looking forward to share whatever I can in terms of insights with the audience. By way of personal background, I'm the founder and CEO of Foliumed. Foliumed is a producer of medical cannabis who's growing, cultivating, and extracting in Colombia, and produces finished manufactured goods in Germany with a pharmaceutical partner. And what I wanted to do in the speech today is fundamentally put the clock back 3 years ago, see where the Colombian promise originated, where we are today, and how I expect the products from Colombia, how this will play out over the next couple of years. I'll give you our personal view of how we have navigated this situation and the landscape, and we'll open for questions at the back end of the presentations. So 3 years ago, I think there was a situation where many people felt the Colombians were at the gate, Colombia being clearly the lowest cost producer in the world with a strong export regulatory framework in place and hundreds of licensed producers, some of them with very strong balance sheets. So in many of the export destination countries, I think there was a mix of angst with regards to what was going to happen. And I think at the same time, of course, a look at the opportunity that the importation from a low-cost geography could bring. Now, 3 years after, we're in 2022, the reality is that there has been coming out of Colombia not more than $5 to $10 million total in medical cannabis product. So I think the conundrum I will try to explain is what happened. I mean, there was a big promise 3 years ago with regards to Colombia. I think 5 million is not precisely a big number, even in medical cannabis, to come out by all the licensed producers during the course of last year. So are we looking here at a case of another empty promise, like so often in the medical and cannabis space overall? Are we looking just at a delay in terms of when the product is ready to go to market? Or are we just looking at a reality which has proven to be more complex than envisaged? And reality is, it's a combination of all three answers. And I'll go back to you and give you my personal interpretation of what has happened until now and why, as of today, Colombia is still a relatively small player on the international scene. And I'm speaking to the industry, not just about Foliumed at this point. Fundamentally, I think none of the large Colombian players has been founded by people who come from pharma. And that's not peculiar to Colombia. It was the same in Canada. It's the same in Australia. I think it's even like this in Germany. So the founding team members of medical cannabis companies down in Colombia have come from a whole variety of sectors, but very few from pharma, again, which is not surprising. Pharma, well-established business, well-capitalized. They're not particularly good at startups. They are not operating well in uncertain environments. So that was, I think, one constraint. The second one is that navigating the combination of narcotics frameworks plus pharma plus cannabis, I mean, you are operating in what is a moving target. And therefore, for people who really don't come from the space, it's quite difficult to navigate and to manage. And I think we have seen that over the last couple of years. And the typical well-tried and tested approach, first by the Canadians, but also by some Colombians, which is to invest significant amount of capital into equipment, doesn't solve the problem, of course, right? I mean, you all know that to build a GMP capability that's built into the genetics of the people, genetics, I'd say they're experience-based. This is not something you can just buy with millions of dollars. So this has been, I think, the constraint. So I think our takeaway, which I would think most of my colleagues in the industries are sharing, my takeaway is that whilst being a low-cost producer is necessary, and particularly necessary when there's no IP in the products, it's still a bit of a commodity. It's necessary, but certainly not sufficient. And what I mean by that is that ultimately the constraint we're all facing in the medical cannabis space is that the prescribers still aren't fully on board with regards to the efficacy of the product. There is rudimentary data out there at large. The observational data we have hasn't been collected and analyzed in a way which is easy to consume for the prescriber. So just coming in and say, listen, there's aspirin. Aspirin's a bad example, but a painkiller which is a third of the price doesn't make will not make the difference here. So I think on that note, I want to tell you of how we decided to tackle the challenge. Was quite different from many others now down in Colombia. And let me go to first the overview of who we are. So we're a low-cost producer. We have a partnership with Fidelio Healthcare. Fidelio acquired the pharmaceutical manufacturing assets of Mundi Pharma in Limburg and Milan a couple of years ago. They're our exclusive joint venture partner for everything which has to do with cannabis. They have over 30 years of contract manufacturing experience and the assets in place to do the whole set of product forms, ranging from solid forms, semi-solid liquids, soft gel capsules, and other more advanced dosage forms. And we had the luck to team up with some people who have significant experience in pharma. So what we do offer is we do pharma grade APIs, we do white label products and contract manufacturing and services. And again, how did we go about this? So I personally felt I'm one of the guys who is not from pharma and ended up in the medical cannabis space. And I felt that rebuilding that capability was taking too long, it's too risky. And so we felt it was significantly better idea for us to have a business combination together with a pharmaceutical company for whom these processes, narcotics, importation, exportation, manufacturing of advanced product forms, is daily business, as opposed to us who come from a different angle and are much more closer linked to the plant and to the extraction, which is what we're doing in Colombia. So our team today exists therefore of two guys who are not from cannabis. It's myself and Diego, our CEO in South America, and two very experienced pharmaceutical executives, founders, and entrepreneurs, Dr. Prash and Heiner Hauptmann. So these pictures you probably have seen from lots of guys. So this is the farm which we have. We have a 16-hectare farm at 2,500 meters. That helps a lot in terms of pest control, and humidity is low there. It's a GCP. We have our own strains, and we're doing both indoor and outdoor. And when I say indoor, you're looking at that simple greenhouse structure here on the left. The picture on the left shows that we have the Minister of Justice visiting here. It's a typical, really simple greenhouse structure. This is what fundamentally, this chart, which shows the cost per gram of cannabis fire, is what initiated the Colombian boom, investor-related boom, I would say, 3 years ago. Where fundamentally, a simple story was, look, we're producing at 20 cents. In the case of our colleagues from Clever Leaves, we are lower than that, but this is really what triggered most of the interest in the industry at this point in time. But as I said, this is necessary, but not sufficient if you want to operate in pharmaceutical markets. If you are operating in the CBD market, so the US or the UK, and you are in the API business there, then some of that matters less. I'm saying less, not at all. But I think for the medical cannabis space, this the combination of low cost and pharma quality, and probably in reverse order, quality first, price second, is what really matters, I think, to everyone. This is the asset in Germany. So this is our partner's facility. This is close to Frankfurt, 15,000 square meters, certified by of course, by the EU, by Germany, Russia, Kazakhstan, a whole number of countries, and with a full set of product forms. I will show you in a moment. and the quality control, as in any other pharmaceutical company, you would plays a very material role here. And these are not some fake pictures which are collected from Shutterstock, but these are the actual facility in Germany. This is our lab there, which is HPLCs and gas chromatography. I mean, the usual stuff you will need to do pharmaceutical products. So for us, I think we took the decision that rather than trying to build a EU GMP facility in Colombia, that it was more favorable to look for a partner in Germany who brings that capability, who at the same time has manufacturing assets in place to do advanced dosage forms, which as a medical cannabis company, you never would be able really to profitably build on your own. Given that we're still working with very small markets, you're building yourself a manufacturing capability for finished products, which includes tinctures, soft gel capsules, pills, emulsions, suspensions, blister packs, is just not economical. And therefore, our business model really here has been to provide other limited, other licensed producers with a finished product, which is manufactured to EU GMP. And some of them want to have the Colombian API, which and some of them bring their own API. So we have both sets of customers. Some of them they are cultivating themselves, and they just really would want us to bottle, package, label, and release. And you have others who fundamentally want to have a turnkey solution where they're saying, listen, I would like a range of soft gel products which go from CBD high all the way to THC high in a number of set of formulations. They should be using our Colombian API. They must be manufactured under EU GMP, and they need to have the pharmaceutical stability data you require to release the product. So for us, I think this was pretty fundamental to be able to count on a partner who was able to add that capability to what we can do from Colombia, which is fundamentally grow at very low cost, add good quality, extract the product, and bring it to Germany. I think the final point I want to make is that this partnership has enabled us to navigate what are pretty complex import regulations, which, as you all know, vary massively from one jurisdiction to the other. And when you're operating in a market like Colombia, where you have no domestic demand or no meaningful domestic demand until now, because the regulations are still slowly developing, having partners in the export jurisdictions is key. Navigating this landscape, again, is not for beginners. You need to know, I think, your way around. And if you're really still at a stage where you're learning what GMP is, it's very, very complicated at the same time to navigate, I think, that landscape successfully. So just a couple of pictures here. So this is the narcotics bunker in Limburg. It's, we believe, one of the largest narcotic storage facilities which are in Germany. At this point, we are offering storage services for other licensed producers, wholesalers, and distributors. We have produced our first batch of soft gelatin capsules for CBD high formulation recently. This is now on stability. Very promising trial, I think, from our perspective, where we feel that the day of tinctures will be counted relatively soon. And as any other pharmaceutical product, I think it will be moving, at least in part, towards soft gel capsule form. So we have done this until now in CBD high. And towards the end of the year, we expect also to do the balanced and THC high formulations. Solid forms, these are until now only used for non-cannabis products. So we have not yet done a pill or sublingual waiver, but we can. And then there's liquids and semi-solids. And this is mostly used at this point in time to contract manufacture, bottle, fill, package. You have other licensed producers who want to have the EU GMP facility there, and for whom it is more economical to outsource this process than doing it in-house. So I think on that note, this is how we went about it. Let's make a comparison. How did others tackle the quality challenge, which I think for every producer in a low-cost geography is key. Others have either decided to build their own EU GMP capability, like our colleagues from Clever Leaves, which I think was a great achievement for the industry overall. It shows that we have people in the industry in Colombia who can operate to GMP standards. I think that was a remarkable achievement. Again, we did the same through a different way, where fundamentally all the GMP activity takes place in Fidelio, and everything else which is happening in Colombia needs to be EU GMP compliant and fundamentally released by the QP responsible from our partners. And there are others who really haven't tackled the medical cannabis space as a key focus. As I said, some of the companies are still oriented towards the CBD markets, and they want to be API providers. And well, unfortunately, as we have seen in the industry, the CBD markets in the US and in the UK haven't precisely developed in the way we envisaged until now. So those who have made a bet on CBD being the quicker path of access to market, I think have been somewhat disappointed by this. And the jury is, of course, still out. The more it's regulated, I think the easier it will be for the Colombians to actually play a role in this. But until now, it has been relatively minor. So I think from our end, therefore, I think we have taken a different path. We had preferred to come out with a made in Germany product as opposed to a made in Colombia product, a finished product, and to do it through a partnership as opposed to build ourselves. As usual, there are different ways now in the industry of how you can position yourself. This was our path. We haven't regretted it ever since. I think this was the right way of going about it, and we're seeing a lot of interest now these days from people to work with us on a number of things. Now, probably before I open up to questions, let me give you my perspective of how I think this Colombian thing will play out over the next couple of years, i.e. going back to the initial question. Has Colombia as a low-cost producer, has it been an empty promise? Are we just delayed? Or is it just going to be much more complicated than everyone thought? So first of all, I think you can see, if you're tracking the numbers from everyone in the Colombian industry until now, there's a quite meaningful uptick in revenues you're seeing in the first quarter of this year by the publicly listed companies. The same is true for ourselves. So you're still looking at relatively small figures for large companies as they are, but you definitely start seeing traction, which I think 2019 wouldn't have really been the case. So that's number one. I think, as I said, some of the players in our industry will probably not go down a pharmaceutical route, but will pursue a consumer products route, so i.e. a CBD ingredient supply play or a finished product CBD play. With all the caveats this brings, but there's no golden bullet in our industry, whether it's medical cannabis or CBD really. We have taken a different route as a contract development and manufacturing organization. They're in conjunction with our German partners. That's what we do. So we provide products, white label products to other people. And what will happen by end of the year is that there's now a new regulation in place which actually hasn't been signed yet by the president of Colombia, given the latest political developments. I think they had other priorities, but there is a piece of regulation ready to be signed for which will allow the exportation of flower. As you know, Colombia hasn't been able to export flower. With a little bit of luck, that will change, I think, by end of this year. As I said, the regulations are written, but are on the president's desk to sign. And finally, pretty much like in most other medical cannabis markets, I think there's a reasonable expectation here that within 3 years' time, probably 80% of the guys who have licenses today will no longer be in the business. And that's not different from Canada. It's not different from Australia. I think it will not be very different from Germany. And so that's just the fate of any industry which at the beginning attracts a lot of people and then will seed it out over time. It was no different than the dot-com boom. It will be the same here. So that's a relatively easy prediction to make. On that note, I think I showed you what I wanted to say. So I think Colombia, certainly not an empty promise. It's certainly delayed versus where we felt it was going to be 3 years ago. And I think each one of us in the industry has taken a bit of a different path to the situation. None is better than the other. We have taken a partnership path and do the EU GMP in Germany. Others have built the EU GMP over there. Others think that they may not need to do it because they're focusing on the CBD side of things. So I think this is how it's going to play out. And I'm very optimistic that the original bet, that Colombia will emerge as a major player will eventually work out for a smaller subset of people who are operating in the market today. And on that note, I'll open questions to the floor.